America's tourism crisis nobody's talking about. Foreign visitors are abandoning the U.S. in record numbers.
So, y'all know them travel advisory reports that the United States loves to push out, basically telling us to not go to certain places because they're violent or it's not safe. Yeah, so the Department of Commerce has now issued a report showing a growing list of countries advising their citizens to not come to the United States, to not come and visit the United States. Yeah, now we are not the safe country.
Australia, Canada, Germany, Denmark, France, the UK, and Finland all just issued travel advisory warnings against the United States. They don't think that it's safe for people from their country to travel to this hellhole, and they are absolutely right. Are we great yet? Is it cool when other countries are terrified of having their citizens visit here because they might end up in prison, and maybe they'll get murdered in a U.S. prison like that Canadian did just a couple of weeks ago, which I'm sure everyone's already forgotten about because every day is full of so much terrible news we can't even keep up with it. Donald Trump's America absolutely balls, and any person who says that they really like it right now is the kind of person who enjoys living in terror. There is some number of people who really enjoy authoritarianism, but I have to tell you guys a secret here. Nobody ends up doing great in an authoritarian regime. Exactly. Nobody ends up doing well. This doesn't end well for anyone.
On tourism, there's been a steep drop-off in international travel to the United States. It was down 12% last month, down even more from Western Europe. Why do you think that there are fewer people suddenly who want to travel to the United States?
Well, there could be a little, there's a little nationalism there, I guess, perhaps. It's not a big deal. And our dollar is a little bit on the low side, and that means that a lot of tourism is going to come in. But I could see a little bit nationalism at work, and I could see it likewise with us, not wanting to go to certain countries, but that will work out very easily.
Do you think some people are scared to come here because they hear the stories of tourists who are detained for a few days or even a week or two?
No, we treat our tourists great. We're the tourism capital of the world. There's no place like this. And there may be a little bit of nationalism, but I doubt it. I actually doubt it.
If you're Canadian, just stay home, okay? Don't go to the United States of Rica. Don't even attempt, okay? Just, if you're Canadian and you have a functioning brain with not too much mercury in it, you should avoid traveling to the United States of Rica at all cost. Yesterday, I got denied access in the United States. I thought this was meant for people who are criminals. You know, I thought it was for people who got criminal records, bad people, okay? Not me. I don't know what the heck is suspicious about me, but yesterday I got denied access trying to catch a flight to Florida, okay? Mind you, I did not even want to go. Isn't that funny? Like, in my guts, like, it felt wrong. Like, I didn't want to go. But I already had plans to pet sit, you know? The booking was done. The deal was done. I had to pet it. I was doing it for the pets. But then the agent at border control told me that I was taking somebody else's job by pet sitting in Rica, and that the owner should hire a U.S. citizen. I was like, this is not really what you're thinking, because this is a very well-organized website / application where people get to travel and pet sit worldwide, you know, in exchange of staying in houses for free. She's like, nah. And what is it again that you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a content creator, you know, UGC and everything. She's like, that's not a stable income. I'm like, actually, you're right, but, you know, I eat. She like, nah, next time you want to come here, bring your pay stubs, bring your bank statement, bring proof that you have ties to Canada. I'm like, what do you want? Like my lease or something? She's like, yes, that would be a good proof. In my head, I'm like, I know this bird don't think I'm trying to flee my beautiful Canadian country to go in this Trump-fest Rica. where they give shit to citizens. Now, why? Listen, at that point, I heard enough. I'm pretty sure she had heard enough, and I agreed with her. She's like, I'm denying you access. I'm like, thank you. Okay? Like, thank you for reminding me that I should not even try to cross your border. Like, thank you for knocking some sense back into my head.
Fly back to Vegas. Everybody's got their own row. It's like unheard of. So freaking sweet, dude. I'm so stoked.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter Agent Stories, and this is something that I want to talk about. It's a looming concern towards people of the United States, especially business people that are dependent on tourists. And there is a growing concern because people are asking Mr. Donald Trump, why are we seeing airports empty? Why are we seeing tourists not coming to the United States? And I think everyone knows the answer. It's written it's written in HD on the wall. You just need to see it. First of all, there is so many things that are going currently in the United States, and you get to realize that factors like this discourages people to come to a country. One of the most profound things is the social well-being of people. Today, we are seeing a lot of people coming out on social media trying to say how the United States doesn't have a social life. The social life in the United States is as good as dead. And so when people see these types of things, people want to spend, you call it your Jetsu holiday. Yeah. People want to spend their holiday wherever they want to spend it, especially when a person chooses that they want to spend their time in the United States. It becomes so much hard after hearing all these economic collapses that are going on, after hearing all these mass deportations that people are being deported. And this makes investors, this makes tourists so much afraid to step their foot in the United States. And so it becomes somewhat problematic seeing all these things going on at the same time. And so one thing that still remains diabolical is that Mr. Donald Trump was being asked this question, and his answers were really, really profound. So I want to watch this video. It is really, really important to understand that it's becoming so much hard for people. And remember, when the citizens of the United States are going out there, and it's not their fault because they're trying just to share their problems that they go through, everyone gets to see what is happening, including people who are initially interested in going to the United States, and people are canceling their tickets. And as a result, this is making the airports remain empty. Also, you are seeing videos where people are saying that I'm going to be leaving the United States. I'm going to be starting my life maybe in Africa, maybe in Caribbean, maybe in Brazil, maybe different places that people are choosing to go, right? And so people are seeing that there is no need for me going to the United States because at the end of the day, people are leaving, right? So let's watch this video. I'll be back, and I'm just asking you, for those who are watching me for the first time, kindly consider subscribing to my channel. For those who are always supporting me, you can buy me a coffee through my Cash App account. I'll be really, really grateful. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back, and then I'll be sharing my thoughts at the end of it all. But until then, peace, love, and let's watch the video. I'll be back.
It's like empty, totally empty. It's so crazy.
The White House was recently bragging that border crossings are at an all-time low. Why is that? Oh, that's right, because no one's coming to America anymore. You know, our current government isn't exactly the friendliest to people that don't speak the King's English. It's not just illegal border crossings that are down. International tourism in the United States has fallen like a rock. In March, overseas arrivals dropped by more than 11% compared to the year before. Western Europe saw a 17% decline. The Americas down 24%. Flights that used to be packed are now running real light. The reason behind these declines is pretty simple. The global perception of the United States has changed recently since the election. His threats, along with horror stories of travelers to the States, have led European nations, along with Canada, to issue travel advisories to the United States. These tourists no longer feel safe or welcome by our current government. This isn't just about the loss of tourism. Those tourists bring jobs, and those jobs are going to be lost, along with tips, and the businesses are going to struggle. Some of them are going to close. Cities like Orlando, New York, Las Vegas are already feeling the effects of the lack of travelers. If this trend continues, the U.S. could lose up to $180 billion in GDP by June of 2026. It's not just immigrants that aren't coming anymore. No one wants to come here.
So I did a thing today. Actually, I canceled a thing today. Have a look. Yeah. In April, I was supposed to go to New York for a vocal workshop with a bunch of people, and I canceled the trip today. Canceled my trip. I just, as a Canadian, in good conscience, I just couldn't justify going. Now, there's a bunch of different reasons, but I saw what happened to Jasmine Mooney, and I'm seeing videos about when you go to the border, they're checking everything, and I just, my spidey senses just started tingling. And I don't know, call it intuition, I don't know what it is, but there's something that I just didn't feel right about. Not to mention how Canada is being treated, and it sucks. I love New York. It's like one of my favorite cities in the whole wide world, and the people are great, and the food's great, the history's great, and everything's great. And it sucks. I want to go so bad, and I love all the Americans, the Blue Dots, who have been so supportive of Canada during this time, but I just couldn't do it. So it sucks. I canceled it today, so here we are. But you know what, New York? In the words of Jonathan Groff of Hamilton, you'll be back soon, you'll see, and I can't wait someday. I'll come back someday, New York. But yeah, cancel my trip. Apple's up.
Hey guys, I'm here in the Orlando airport, and there's not a single soul in here. Guys, airports are 24/7. I don't think you have ever seen this in Orlando. This is like one of the most busiest. Oh my God, look at this. I could show you down the hallway. Nobody, guys. I have never seen this before in my life. Look at this, the tram, not a single soul. Guys, this is scary. Anyways, guys, I just thought I'd tell you, this is one of the most busiest airports because of Disney, obviously, right? Disney. Guys, there's nobody in here. Everything is closed down. What's going on? This is the first time I've ever seen this in my life. Guys, let me know in the comments if you ever seen the Orlando airport, Orlando, this dead before. Guys, this is scary. Anyways, guys, I am filming this. Look at this. Look at the tram. Not a single soul. Guys, there's nobody waiting in the hallways. There's nobody in the restaurants. Everything is closed. I don't know, guys. I'm kind of scared. I gotta go. All right, bye.
Visitors are even being told by their home countries to take their vacations and money elsewhere.
Do you feel like your friends and family feel comfortable traveling there?
No. Nobody I know back in England or here.
And then the police can take them and just take them to a country outside the States, and then they're not a protected citizen anymore.
Horror stories are emerging of treatment at the border, with one story so shocking it's got many asking if America is still safe.
I think the atmosphere is changing there, so I would prefer to go there. I'd probably stay in Europe.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. So tourism season is upon us. And I can tell you what the United States is seeing. The United States is seeing a huge dramatic drop in international visitors to the United States. Now, those visitors contribute millions to billions of dollars of tourism dollars all across the United States, and specifically heavily in Florida, because everybody undoubtedly in Europe thinks that Florida is that Disneyland is the greatest place in the world to go. I don't understand that, but Florida's getting hammered on the tourism end, but it's also across the entire United States. Now, 18 million jobs are in the tourism industry. And when you're starting to lose billions of dollars, what you're going to do is you're going to lose jobs, you're going to lose revenues for small businesses, you're going to lose hotel motel taxes that support some things in local government. So the real deal is here. The world doesn't want to come to the United States, which has always been one of the top tourist destinations in the world. We're going to lose that title this year, and we know who we can owe that to. Congratulations on reducing the income for businesses that rely on tourism.
So, y'all know them travel advisory reports that the United States loves to push out, basically telling us to not go to certain places because they're violent or it's not safe. Yeah, so the Department of Commerce has now issued a report showing a growing list of countries advising their citizens to not come to the United States, to not come and visit the United States. Yeah, now we are not the safe country. So I'm reading from an article that you can find on Forbes.com, right? So it says that the United States government reported a double-digit overall drop in international arrivals last month, with much bigger losses coming from Canada, Mexico, and lucrative Western Europe markets, suggesting foreign tourists are staying away in significant numbers due to the tariff backlash and even harsher immigration tactics. So I'm just going to read off some of these statistics. So in the Caribbean, they have seen a 26% drop from visitors and tourists. Africa, 10% drop. South America, 11% drop. Central America, 24% drop. Asia is a 1% drop. And now the two largest governments, or the two largest European markets, the United Kingdom is down 15%, and then Germany is down 29%. These governments are telling their citizens to not come over to the United States, not visit the United States, in fear that ICE agents will detain their citizens and not bring them back to their native land, which we see is the case here in this administration. If they come here, God forbid, get detained by ICE, ICE will not allow them to prove that they're visiting, will not allow them to prove their visas. They will most likely send them to a detention center and then ship them over to El Salvador's mega prison, just like they did with that teenage New York Bronx kid that's actually from Venezuela. Instead of deporting him to his native country, they deported him to the mega prison. Yeah, that's what they don't want to happen, because if that happens, there's no way for people, their actual family and their government to even be made aware of what's going on, because ICE agents will not inform nobody. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was actually questioned on this yesterday during a press conference, to which she said, I haven't even seen the report. I haven't even seen the report. As the White House Press Secretary, is that not your job? Is that not your job to be aware and to manage the reputation of the government? Instead, she decided to say, while I haven't seen the reports and I would have to read it in order for me to effectively comment, I do believe that the administration that we're in right now is so much safer and so much better than the one that we were in previously 4 years ago. So I don't know why they would be advising their citizens to not come over here. It's because of this administration's policy and their harsh immigration tactics. That's why. These are tourists that often have to come over here on a visa. ICE agents are not allowing people to even prove their legal status. Why would anybody come over here? Just so you know, the United States makes $2 trillion in tourism. $2 trillion that we're starting to lose now. And that $2 trillion is tied up in the United States GDP, which is part of the reason why the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. That goes down. I think you know where I'm going with this. So now, thanks to this administration and all of its dumb policies, we are facing a possible recession, inflation. The entire world globally is laughing and mocking our democracy and our government. We are now starting to lose profit that we make on tourism. And as a New York City native, I'm not gonna lie, we could use a little less tourism here in New York City, but overall, for American economy, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. Maybe if this administration wasn't too worried with trying to rack up and rally as many free slaves to ship over to that mega prison in El Salvador, we wouldn't have to be dealing with this. Just saying.
This is the second part video to my experience with being held in a federal prison overnight. Obviously spent the night in prison. I barely slept. I was very anxious. I didn't know, I couldn't have any contact with the outside world, so I had no idea whether my mum knew where I was, if anybody knew that I was being deported. So it was one of those situations where you have no control, you don't know what is going on, and if I'm being quite honest with you, I didn't even know if I was going to get out the next day. I kept having to ask people like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I remember just being in this headspace of like, I'm going to be sent somewhere and I'm never going to get out of this situation. Another thing that was really hard for me to comprehend at the time, and it was something that I just was not understanding, was when I was being processed in custody, the officer told me, which was they were part of the jail. So at this point, the CBP officers had left and I was just talking to the prison officers, and he told me, like, don't worry, you're not getting a criminal record, you're not being charged with anything, you're not under arrest. And I remember sitting there saying, like, if this is the case, why am I here for? Like, I'm in prison. I am being cavity strip searched, I'm being fingerprinted, photos are being taken of me, I'm signing documents. Like, why am I being processed in a jail for? Like, what you're saying and my environment, they're just not making sense and they're not lining up. So it was something that was like, that's why when I was in the prison, I didn't believe that I was going to be getting out the next day, because I'm like, oh, this is wild. Like, none of this makes any sense. So after spending the whole night in prison, I was then picked up by CBP officers the next day, taken back to the airport. I was handcuffed again and walked through the airport. So the exact same process occurred. And then I was put into a room until I had to board my flight at 12 p.m. I was flying Hawaiian Airlines. And I still hadn't spoken to my family up until a few hours before I boarded the plane. And that was because my family called the CBP office. So after all those hours, no Border Patrol official person had reached out to my mom or reached out to my husband and said, hey, this is where your daughter's been taken overnight. Like, they had not said anything. They have not said a word. There is a lot more that I want to add into these videos, but for now, I just wanted to pretty much explain what happened to me upon me leaving the airport and arriving at prison. There are a lot of different interactions that occurred while I was in there, but I just wanted to outline like the process and what happened from the airport to the prison.
The craziest news of the day is coming out of Aria, guys. Aria Hotel and Casino, Aria Resorts. This hotel in Las Vegas really charged their guests $26 for a bottle of water that they put inside the mini fridge in the room. And exact same water sells for just $7 downstairs at Starbucks, or just $4 at CVS right outside the hotel. And it is 24-hour CVS. You can buy the entire case of water for $10 from CVS. And this guest paid $26 for one bottle of water. And the crazy part is he had no idea how much that water cost. He found out about it after the fact when the mini bar lady showed up to his hotel to restock. Now he's making them regret by dragging them all over social media, from Reddit to Twitter to TikTok. Every social media has this one as their top story. Even Las Vegas Review Journal is covering it. That is the biggest newspaper in Las Vegas, is covering this story. Now you see all these hotels complaining about how tourism is down, and then they do stuff like this, and then they act surprised when people don't want to come back. There really is no justification for this except the fact that these corporations being extremely greedy, because this is the kind of price that you normally see at the high-end nightclubs, where they would justify high prices by telling you they have to pay their celebrity DJ or the artist and the venue. It's a lot of things that go into it, but this is just a normal hotel room, a normal mini fridge, and you just wanted some water and they are punishing you for it. I hope they issue an apology and refund this guy his money, because this is not right. This is not good. If it is so expensive for them to provide this service, why not just completely not do it? That way the guest actually knows there is no fridge or water in the room, and they make sure to get water before they come back to their room. And now the guest is pissed, and now everybody hates your hotel, and I don't think this is a good business.
Here's some Las Vegas breaking news that hasn't made the news yet. MGM Resorts just told all of their concierge employees across all of their properties, with the exception of Aria and Bellagio, that they are being laid off. This is a couple weeks after laying off the valet, doorman, and bellman at Excalibur and announcing the closure of the Luxor buffet. We know that travel and tourism is down. Aside from global issues and the Canadians boycotting us, many Americans fear that we are headed for a recession and they are tightening up their spending. But what's going on at MGM feels a little bit bigger than that. Multiple executives in recent months have resigned or are rumored to be considering resignation, with small downsizings and rumors of more occurring at multiple properties. This is after raising resort fees and parking fees twice in 2024. Fees keep going up and amenities are being scaled back. It feels like everyone's trying to be tight-lipped about this, but I think we need to talk about it. Are more layoffs coming? Is this a sign of the times? Let me know what you think and follow me for all the Vegas.
Okay, quick story time. Went to Vegas 3 weeks ago. It's for March Madness with my husband. Little getaway. We go at least 4 times a year. Leaving on a Friday night is iffy because Vegas is just popping on Friday nights. However, March Madness, Friday night, flying in to an empty airport. Walked right in the taxi line. There's no line. Get in the taxi, ask the taxi driver, where is everybody? He goes, it's been like this. It's been like this for a long while. And he says, it's like worse than COVID. And we went during COVID, and it did remind me eerily of COVID. It was just feeling like, I don't know if I've been in Vegas on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning, it feels like that, but all the time. You know, it's just very, very empty. And so we were able to get restaurant reservations at the last minute anywhere we want. The tables were like $10, $15 tables instead of being $50, things like that. The platforms to go to dinner if you want to take the tram, like the free tram by the Aria, if you're familiar, completely empty, like eerily only people there. And so I saw this one family come up all excited, and I go, it's usually not like this, just so you know. It's just usually just jam-packed with people. You're fighting to get on the tram. But you know what, it's possible is they all took Ubers because there's nobody on the strip. So we ended up taking taxis and Ubers later because they can just go straight down the strip instead of having to go around the hotels and try to avoid traffic. There's no traffic. And so that's the way Vegas is, and it is. So anything that you see online about Vegas being dead, it is not propaganda. That is absolute truth. If it's like that on a Friday night during March Madness, which we go to March Madness in the past, we've been there for this time, it is usually just swamped with people. So I don't know, but things are already turning in the travel industry. So this is my story for today. I just thought I'd share that. Hope you're having a good day. Bye.
Stunning images of near-empty passenger planes are popping up on social media. These international flights have many tourists flying to the USA practically alone. Shauna Massengill flew from London to Chicago. Look, barely anyone on board.
It was really shocking. I've never been on a flight like that.
This flight from Toronto to New York is also practically empty. And a flight from Toronto to Fort Myers, row after row of empty seats. Here in California, international travel is predicted to decline by 9% this year, driven by higher tariffs imposed by the Trump administration and negative sentiment toward the U.S.
The drop in numbers of Europeans traveling to the U.S. is staggering, and depending on the country, it's down as much as 42% over last year. That's just Europeans not traveling to the U.S.
Here in New York, tourism is also being hit big time, once again driven by negative sentiment toward the USA.
The Trump administration has announced that they're going to be charging a visa integrity fee to every flyer coming to the United States. The fee will be $250, and it will supposedly be reimbursable to some people, but Trump is really doing everything he can to ruin the World Cup and really stop people from coming to enjoy the World Cup. Maybe he just wants Americans to be the only people actually going to the games. And if you're wondering, well, will this just be increase from other fees people have to pay? No, this will be a fee on top of every other fee. This is for non-immigrant visas, so tourists, business people, anything along those lines. If you have H-1B1 visas, you pay the H-1B1 visa fee, and then this other fee on top of that as well. Our tourism industry has already taken a massive hit this year due to ICE, and this is only going to make people less likely to come to the United States for tourism. The amount of money we're going to lose from this is going to be pretty massive for the tourism industry.
No, I'm not going to be traveling to the U.S. I would be more scared going to the U.S. at this time.
It is scary right now. It is a scary time for Canadians and everybody around. The orange guy, he's going to be the orange guy. Like, at the end of the day, Miami, like, we're going to go to Miami.
I wouldn't say I'm scared. I'm a very big-looking white guy, but I don't travel to the U.S. I don't have any plans to, and I don't want to.
I'm supposed to be going tomorrow night, and I'm a little nervous just because of all the things like going through your phone. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to be with my mom. So we're just two gals going to a concert. I'm sure we'll be okay. It's just for a couple hours, but I wouldn't want to like travel there right now to stay over.
I think it's kind of difficult not to go to America just because of the nature of my work, but also just there's amazing things there to see. I have friends and family that live in the U.S. And what's happening right now with the tariffs is awful and I think really divisive, but ultimately I will try to avoid to buy American products, but I don't know if I could avoid going there.
Do not travel to America. Do not travel to America for the next 4 years. You do not want to get caught up in Trump's deportations. I'm sure by now you've heard of the German and UK tourists who were arrested by ICE and detained for days. Allegedly, the German tourists were chained. You do not want that to be your story, especially if you are taking your family on holiday with you. Do not spend your hard-earned money on a country that does not appreciate you as a black or brown person. For the next 4 years, the world is your oyster. Maldives, Thailand, Bali, Hong Kong, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica. These are all amazing places. Let's not go to a country that's increasingly becoming lawless. A country where the president has no respect for the rule of law. A country where the president ignores federal judges. My family and I go to Florida every single year. We love Disney, we love Universal, but for the next 4 years, we're going to be going anywhere but. And I think that you should all do the same. Do not travel to America. Pass it on.
It may not be the best time for Irish citizens to travel to America at the moment. There have been various European tourists who have been detained in detention centres by ICE. I'm going to tell you about each of them and then I'm going to show you the pictures of the detention centres. And even Cabby Lame, a very famous TikTok influencer, was detained. Although he was granted voluntary departure, Jessica Brosch, a German tourist and tattoo artist, was detained for carrying tattoo equipment. And she was held for 6 weeks at Otte Messe Detention Center. Lukas Schlaf, another German citizen, was accused of breaching his 90-day stay. The answer to this agreement was misinterpreted, which led him to being held and detained for 16 days. Becky Burke, who is Welsh, had some visa issues and an unclear work status, which led her to being held for 3 weeks. Even a German-born US citizen who holds a green card was held for 2 months before his release in May. So what can cause you to be detained in the USA as a tourist? If you misstate anything about your visa, even minor technicalities are now taken into account. They do a routine search of your devices and your social media, and if you have ambiguous travel patterns. What can this mean for Irish citizens? Well, firstly, there is no privacy. Like, they will check your social media, they will check all of your devices. Legal protections are very limited. If you get denied entry, you cannot appeal that. It's important for Irish citizens to comply with the stricter entry laws to avoid detention. Now I'm going to tell you about the detention centres. Detainees report being given mouldy food, dirty mattresses and used underwear. There is huge overcrowding and medical neglect, isolation from legal support, and a lack of transparency and oversight. Remember, guys, if you want to travel to the US, make sure you comply with their new travel laws.
The political climate of the United States is one of the most people really care much about the political instability of a country. When people see all this crazy stuff happening, when people see people barely can't even afford to get food, it remains problematic because people are asking themselves, okay, I'm going to be going to the United States, but how am I going to be surviving? Because even the citizens of the United States themselves are going through tough, difficult economic times. And so it becomes problematic for them to understand all these things that are happening. Under the Trump administration, you also need to understand that many perceive the U.S. borders as hostile. High-profile detainment and deportation cases, some involving tourists with valid visas, have spooked many potential visitors. And this is true because when we see the news and we see even visitors being taken back, visitors being denied, their visas being taken and then they're being got out of US, this makes people so much afraid. And this chases even investors because they're afraid I might invest in this country and then I'm just going to be taken out anytime, wherever they fail, right? The ICE agents and the deportations that have been going on has really put so much fear to people, so much fear to the citizens of the United States, so much fear to all those immigrants that came to the United States, and so much fear to, all those visitors, and especially visitors who had the capabilities of supporting and making the United States grow. And this affects the United States in a different way because they're not going to be getting that foreign currency, the foreign exchange, that they have people that come and pay, and in turn they add money to the economy. And so we are not going to have those kinds of people, because I came to realize that the political climate of the United States really sounds so much big. Also, you need to understand the political stance of Mr. Donald Trump as a person is also affecting the decisions of tourists. And the political decisions, for example, in what happened in Iran and the USA and all this tariff stuff, people are not supporting this. And so this is also affecting where they're going to be deciding to spend their Jitsu holiday, right? And so it remains diabolical that you understand that your stance as the president of a country affects how people perceive you. And it also affects whether they are going to be coming to these places, to invest in these places. And so when people look at what you've subscribed to socially, economically, politically, it affects how they are supposed to come to your country. How the world is viewing the United States today is different. People are losing faith to the United States. People are losing faith because how they usually visualize the United States as that great country, as that big country, it is not the same. And so this also affects how the people's preference in visiting these places also changes. We have people that are documenting how the United States is becoming a third world country. Tell me, is this a good image to visitors? Not really, it's not. And so these are just the United States citizens that are trying to showcase how things are going on. And I think it's important that the reality is coming out, and at least the United States itself knows where to correct and where to improve, right? Economic factor and cost. A strong US dollar makes trips much costlier for foreign visitors. These also include some hidden costs such as tipping culture, resort fees, and highly daily expenses add up. Tourists feel the financial strain more than ever. Well, that might not be a major concern because tipping in the United States is part of culture. People tip everywhere they go. I honestly don't feel that that is so much, a big factor. But look at how tourists are viewing the United States today and how it's going to be affecting the economy. Really, really big time. Look at the hotels that are situated on the airports. Look at the people that have invested in these places. Look at the people, the taxi people. They all depend on these tourists so that they can get something at the end of the day. So you can see how this is affecting the United States economy. It's affecting it big time. So, I just want you to let me know what to think about this. Boycott movements as also another factor. We need to understand that there has been an active consumer and travel boycott of the US countries like Canada and parts of Europe. In Canada, cross-border travels dropped dramatically. Flights booking fell by 71 to 76%, and land crossing by 23%. And many Canadians cancelled or postponed their plans, especially in early 2025. Europeans' participation in the boycott is also widespread, with many travelers opting for domestic or nearby destinations. Also, heavy tourism losses and cancellation. In March 2025, international arrivals plummeted 11.6% years over years, and the first quarter saw 3.3% drop overall. The New York expects 2 million fewer international visitors, with spending down by $4 billion. Las Vegas dropped 6.5% in hotel occupancy and saw a 41% decline in passengers traffic at McCarran Airport. Also, the U.S. travel sector faces an estimated of $29 billion loss in revenue in 2025. Cities hit by security and perception issues. Washington, D.C., once a tourism powerhouse, is struggling as well. The deployment of National Guard troops to key tourist areas has deterred visitors. Tourists have cancelled events, dropped out, and hotel bookings have tanked. Okay, so it's happening. Just let me know what you feel about this. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Agent Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.